Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for watching our video today. My name is Jean Ryoo, and I'm the lead author of Power On, joined here today by...
And I'm Ryoo Margolis. I'm co-author of Power On.
We are both researchers at UCLA in the School of Education and Information Studies, and we are so honored to get this opportunity to speak with you. We're really sorry we couldn't be there in person with you today, but we hope that you enjoy this video. We're super excited to share about a graphic novel that we just published called Power On. Here's a sneak peek.
Hi, my name's Taylor, and this is a graphic novel about me and my friends as we learned about the good and the bad of tech. What do I mean by that? Well, during the summer before high school, we found out that the technology we use every day and surrounds us wherever we live isn't always designed with our best interests in mind. Not only that, but the people who are at the tech design table, computer scientists who decide what tech we use and how we use it, don't always represent who we are and what we care about. Well, my friends and I decided that we wanted to change that. This story describes how Christine, Antonio, and John and I tried to learn about computer science so we could one day be at the design table. It describes the help and obstacles we experienced along the way and how we decided to make a difference in our community to get the education we want and deserve. And we might look like a bunch of drawn characters. Beautiful, I know. You can thank our illustrator, Charis JB, for that. But we're actually based on real people, real stories, real research. Read Power On and tell me what you think.
So why a graphic novel? The backstory is this. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was contacted by MIT Press, which is the publisher of two other books that I've written about the inequities in computer science education. And they said, would you be interested in writing a book for youth? And at that time, Jean and myself had been, and we still are, working on student voice research in which we're interviewing students about their experiences in computer science and interviewing them and finding out what interests them, what engages them, what disengages them. And so she said, yes, let's go for it. And then she said, and let's write a graphic novel. Well, I have not been a reader of graphic novels at that point. Jean is an amazing reader of graphic novels. So I immediately jumped in, did a study plan, reading all the graphic novels. I fell in love with them. And so off we went on a journey with Jean applying her amazing storytelling skills into the script based on previous research and our current research. And in the graphic novel, we put students' lives, their voices, and their perspectives in the center of the story. Every step of the way, we remember the words of civil rights leader and math educator Bob Moses, who we dedicate our book to. He said, "We believe that the kind of systemic change necessary to prepare our young people for the demands of the 21st century requires young people to take the lead in changing it." And so this is the very ethos of the book and the story itself, and one of the major purposes of why we wrote it.
And we want to emphasize that this book is not purely fiction. Power On is based on our conversations with youth and research practice partnerships in both Los Angeles Unified School District and Mississippi. We aim to amplify student voices, and especially the voices of students coming from communities that have been historically underrepresented and marginalized in the field of computing. And in collaboration with the folks that you see listed here who have either been part of or are currently part of the team, we have partnered with primarily low-income urban Latinx youth in LA and low-income rural Black youth in the Mississippi Delta and Northern Mississippi, who have had limited computer science education experiences prior to taking either exploring computer science or advanced placement computer science principles in high school. We want to know what matters most for their sense of engagement and identity and agency with computing. The graphic novel translates the students' voice in this research while providing a tool for sparking important discussions in classrooms, out-of-school programs, and at the kitchen table about computer science in today's world. More specifically, youth have been telling us that they want their CS experiences to connect to the real things that they know about and are happening in their lives, because they do not live in a bubble. They have been telling us about how they have access to technology, media, the news, and they are concerned about issues of racism, anti-gay beliefs, climate change, COVID, women's rights, mental health, school shootings, and more. We have written Power On at this current historical moment to encourage important conversations about not only these real-world issues that youth have been telling us about, but also how the technology that computer scientists create directly impact these issues in both good and bad ways. In Power On, we share about a growing body of research pointing to how computer science is neither apolitical nor neutral. While there are still many computer scientists who think that they are not responsible for the impacts of their creations, the research in these books and film described here have shown how computer scientists' personal beliefs, their value systems, everything that they think and how they solve problems are getting built into the technologies they use and we use every day. And this has had huge negative impacts on low-income communities, women, the LGBTQ+ community, brown and Black communities and people of color, and all of those who are underrepresented in the field of computing.
Yet, despite this world that our students are inhabiting and experiencing, and the role of tech in this world, a nationwide teacher survey conducted by our colleagues at the Kapoor Center and the Computer Science Teachers Association revealed that almost 39% of teachers do not see the importance of covering computing's role in perpetuating biases related to racism, sexism, and other inequities in their classrooms. And only 59% of white teachers say that they are confident using materials highlighting race, ethnicity, and culture. And this is compared to 67% of Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and Pacific Islander teachers. And in higher education as well, computer science programs rarely center issues of ethics, social responsibility, power, race, gender, class, disability, and more. Instead, these are considered elective type things to learn, not something central for research or the greater tech field. And this is why we wrote Power On, to be a resource that can support educators in facilitating positive conversations, addressing these pressing issues in the CS classroom where they belong. And we also see Power On as supporting the 6 central components of the Kapoor Center framework for culturally responsive, sustaining CS education.
So what does this look like in the book? To share an example with you, in chapter 1, the 4 friends who are the main characters of this book find out about a police shooting of an innocent Black man who was targeted using racist AI. Of course, the friends become angry and upset, and especially protective of their friend Taylor, who is Black, and their frustration pushes them to ask important questions. Why are police using a tool that hurts instead of helps people? Who is making this kind of technology? How can AI be racist if it isn't human? They find out that there is actually a lot of research and news articles about this very issue of biased AI, as well as problematic algorithms in computer science and technology, and they begin to reflect together on tech's impact on their lives. And in a later chapter, one of the computer science teachers in the story, who represents the strong and caring educators that we've had the privilege to meet in our work, engages her students in an important conversation about biased algorithms that have been used in medicine that doctors and nurses did not realize were actually prioritizing life-saving services for white patients over equally sick Black patients. This resulted in the unnecessary deaths of many Black people. And while the teacher shares about this reality as a way to emphasize another key value that we believe needs to be discussed in computer science classrooms, and that is everyone needs to learn and understand computer science, regardless of their interests and career pathways, because technology affects everything in our lives. So if we're not aware of how technology works, how computer science works, how people program things, how can we critically assess their impacts and avoid the kind of problems that the teacher describes in the book?
And to ensure that readers have an opportunity to learn more about the original research and source materials on which these examples are based, we also feature key people and their work, including Sophia Noble, Virginia Eubanks, Kathy O'Neill, and Ruha Benjamin. And in the book, we also present the work of those who we call CS heroes, computer scientists from traditionally marginalized groups who have been pioneers in some of the most socially responsible work, challenging AI bias, working to increase representation of students of color, females, students with disabilities, LGBTQ students. And inspired by these role models in Power On, the four friends become more and more aware of how important it is for all youth to learn CS. And they find support and agency to take action to affect change in their school district. They have a new understanding of why all identities must be at the design table, why all perspectives must be at the design table, why underrepresentation really matters, and how all of us must be aware of the impact of technology in our lives while standing up for the good and challenging the harm.
Now let's hear directly from students about why everyone needs a computer science education and what specifically they would like to see happening in computer science classrooms. First, we'll hear from Axel, who took advanced placement computer science principles during his senior year of high school. He really cares about social justice and activism in the community and created a mental health app that was described in the graphic novel. He gave us input about the graphic novel along the way as well.
So I think that more marginalized folks need to be represented in the world of technology and computer science, because I mean, we know just how much technology and just how much we use technology in our daily lives. And technology isn't used by, and not only affects rich white cis folks, it affects everyone. And a lot of people that it affects negatively is more often folks that are marginalized. In all courses, I think that we should be more open and honest about the way that race, class, and a lot of our identity affects the subject that we are learning, because it's definitely there. And I think it's hard to learn. It's hard to effectively learn computer science unless you're. And I think it also makes it harder if you're not connecting relevant issues to the topic that you're teaching. That it makes it harder for students to relate to it and be to give their attention to it. Don't go into a computer science class as a teacher only wanting to teach computer just strictly computer science, because then it doesn't necessarily do any justice to the students who are learning that, especially to the ones who are not necessarily already interested in computer science, because there's a slim chance that they might suddenly be inspired to become computer scientists or to want to be engaged with that. But for those who aren't already doing that, it's good to get them drawn into it by having them think about outside issues, quote unquote. And it's also good to get the students who are already interested in computer science to get started to think about these issues, because those are issues that they're gonna have to deal with and run into when they are working on their things outside of class, going post high school.
Next, we'll hear from Natalia, whom I met during her junior year in high school. Natalia also took advanced placement computer science principles, and her interest in CS increased when her teacher continuously contextualized the learning in our historical and political context. Natalia became one of our student advisors who gave feedback on the novel, and here she describes why she thinks it's important to ensure that CS is not taught in a vacuum.
In terms of actually convincing people who think that computer science is this disconnected topic away from reality, is that it really isn't. It affects a lot of the way we live. We use it all the time. And I think also hammering down the points of the way it does affect people, whether it's algorithm bias or how it connects to politics, or how it can bring communities together, or how it can bring resources to places that might not have good access to them, or even things like the digital divide with some people not having good internet access, and how that can really hinder some communities and people out there. I think just really focusing on the point that it's not this disconnected thing that you have to learn in a classroom, in a vacuum or something, that it's always intermingling with us. It's affecting the way we live for the most part. And you can't really treat it like it's in a vacuum, because it really isn't.
And here are the wise words of Takara, who's a member of our Mississippi research team. She herself is a graduate student in technology and society. She majored in computer science as an undergraduate at Spelman College, and she told us this: I've talked to and read statements from CS students who say that they simply want to talk more about social issues in their CS classrooms. So I think the main reason to have these discussions is that students want to have them. These topics are of value to them. Many students are aware of and connected to social justice efforts. And being in a scientific major doesn't change the fact that they're looking for CS to connect with the real world issues that they care about. There's also the point of developing the critical literacies of these students. Purely technical education doesn't do that. So the social ethical aspect is always important if we're saying that we're bringing up the next generation of technologists and policymakers, et cetera. Takara says it powerfully. Computer scientists must have a critical awareness and literacy about their own field and of their own innovations. So we hope that educators will find the book to be a useful tool to help support this critical learning around youth. So teachers are key. And we have collaborated with the wonderful group of CSTA Equity Fellows who have worked tirelessly to create a Power On facilitator guide for teachers. These resources will support the teaching of these issues in Power On, and they will be available for all educators, free and online.
Our amazing collaborators include, in alphabetical order by last name, Megan Bowen, Sarah Cirrus, Shantae Costin, Shayna Glass, Lily Beth Mora, and Elizabeth Name. Their wealth of knowledge from both learning computer science as women and women of color and working with low-income youth and youth of color across the nation is critical to supporting the discussions we need to see happening in all learning spaces.
The biggest issue for me is the algorithms, the racial bias in the AI and in computer science. To me, that's a huge impact, especially with the population of students I work with, and for them to understand that there's things that are already embedded that you need to be aware of. And sometimes they don't see it that way. So for me, the most excited about is that aspect, and also different careers that you can have in computer science, because the school I am, we actually have career tech education. And, I have students that, want to be in nursing. And I'm like, well, you can use computer science in nursing, or auto tech, or, cosmetology, or any other aspects of it. So for them, just, computer science and how it incorporates into other career fields. So that's the biggest thing I'm excited about for my learners.
Something I'm excited about, because I'm with Shantae, just with all of my colleagues. The one thing that we discussed before is good trouble. It stands out to me. Understanding who's making good trouble. Also about them understanding how to be an ally for those who may not look like them. I think now currently in society, students, they need to see and hear that more and be that more. Like they need to know that they have ownership in that, and also being heard. Do they feel like their voices are being heard? Do they understand that sense of agency? Recognizing them as themselves, as that superhero that they are, that they do own that superpower. This book resonates with all of that. So it's time for them to be and have and own good trouble. I'm ready for it. Oh, and looking back on all of the people who are currently making good trouble, as they are included in the book as well.
I echo Shayna's thoughts. I really believe that this graphic novel is empowering, and that it provides students an opportunity to see it in, visually, and read about how you can activate your voice. You can really tap into that agency and even like that self-efficacy because of them digging into, they want to make change, and that they weren't just going to just read about it and move on with their lives, that they were really proactive and getting the community to get involved in improving computer science access. What I also really like, the issue, or something that's addressed in this graphic novel, is how it exposes and sheds light on current CS champions and present day champions, and then how it shows us how the students themselves can also be those heroes. And so we can't wait for you all to read this.
We are so grateful for our CSTA collaborators, and we hope you will find Power On to be a valuable read and useful in your work as well. Please spread the word. Share about this book, give it to your friends and family and to the youth that you know. And incredibly thankful also for you all who are working in classrooms every day as teachers, as educators, as students, as family members and administrators. And we just wanted to share with you that we understand that this is a really difficult time for so many reasons. And in addition to those reasons, for the chilly climate around talking about issues of race, LGBTQ plus communities, issues around immigration and disability, all topics that are touched upon in this book. But we think that now is more important and more needed than ever to be talking about these issues with our youth, who are saying that they're thinking about this every day and they know that these issues are important and they need their education to prepare them to think about these things so that they can improve our world into the future. And I'd like to say, and Jane and I are so thankful, not only for our CSTA Equity Fellow collaborators, but the many others who have come to work with us around this book and who are excited to engage the book in their communities, from the Los Angeles Unified School District to the New York City Department of Education, to Girls Who Code, to libraries, and many, many more. And we're hoping to bring Power On to community organizations and families. And we want to do this also in ways beyond, by creating a Spanish and Korean and many other language translations of the book, also creating an audio version of the book for our blind and low vision readers, but then also for everybody else who could benefit from an audio version. And we're really excited about other opportunities beyond computer science classrooms in civics education, ethnic studies, English classrooms, and more. So please reach out to us if you're interested in working together to make this happen. To learn more about Power On, the Educator resources, and to get involved in this effort and movement, please check out our website at poweronbook.com and join us in social media at @PowerOnBook. We're on Twitter, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.